So I know I talked about the Big Bang Theory on this channel before, but I wanted to talk more about like the relationships in this TV show. So I wanted to talk about the type of relationship that Leonard and Sheldon have. So so they're roommates, and Leonard constantly has to put up with Sheldon and like how different he is from him. So, for example, sometimes he just wants to turn the the thermostat way too cold, and so the apartment's just way too cold a lot of the time, and like he has to deal with like Sheldon like belittling him all the time. So like he talks about how like Leonard's work is kind of inconsequential to like the study of physics, and he also really likes to make fun of Leonard and how basically like how unattractive he is, and like how like the ladies don't really know he exists and stuff like that. So I think this type of relationship is good for like like TV sitcoms, because it's like a constant source of conflict in the show that keeps it interesting throughout multiple seasons. And I think it was a really good idea to include a character like Sheldon, who's like this narcissistic, condescending guy who's like constantly like hurting people's feelings and creating, I guess, a bit of drama in the show. So another relationship that I find interesting is Sheldon and Penny's relationship. So what I think is really funny about this relationship is that Penny's Sheldon's like this Sheldon's like this kind of this man child, and you really still have to treat Sheldon like he's still a child. And I want to bring up an example of this. So like when Sheldon gets sick, Penny has to like sing him this song about like a kitty, this adorable kitty who's feeling sleepy, and it just helps Sheldon go to sleep when he's feeling sick. So this is a good example of the type of relationship they have, where Sheldon's like still this he's like a grown man, but he's still kind of a child inside, and Penny usually wouldn't take on like this mothering role, but because Sheldon really still really needs like this mother figure in his life, Penny kind of reluctantly steps up, even though she really doesn't want anything to do with Sheldon, really. So I want to talk briefly about Leonard and Penny's relationship. So Penny's like this attractive blonde that moves in across the hall, and Leonard's like this nerdy physicist, and their relationship at the beginning of the series is very, very friendly. So like Penny really just sees Leonard as a friend because like he's so different from the guys that she's used to dating. So when they do give a relationship a try, Penny really starts to see that they have like these incompatible personalities. And one good example of this is like Leonard's like always getting in arguments with his friends about like the most trivial things, like who gets to keep this ring from the Lord of the Rings, and like Penny's just kind of getting sick of this, and part of her just misses being with these dumb hunks from the gym. And I think Leonard and Penny's relationship, there's a lot of conflict in this type of relationship that makes the show interesting throughout the series. So I wanted to talk briefly about Howard and Penny's relationship. So Howard's like this player guy who's always making like these creepy, unwanted remarks about these girls. So basically the type of relationship they have is like Howard's like always teasing Penny, and Penny's just like constantly pushing him away. And I think this type of relationship adds like a lot of the comedy in the show. So I wanted to talk also about Howard and Raj's relationship. But first I wanted to talk a bit about Raj. So I think the thing about Raj is like he's like this sensitive guy, and you know, him being overly sensitive is like creates a lot of the humor in the show. So the type of relationship Howard and Raj have is, I think like Howard is the one kind of getting Raj to like do things he doesn't really want to do, and Raj is like the one who's like always complaining and stuff. So I think because Raj is like this sensitive guy, I think that this is the reason why people like to joke about Howard and Raj being in like this homosexual relationship, because like Howard's like the man in the relationship who's kind of like this dominant, assertive guy, and Raj is like this more sensitive, submissive guy. And people like to joke about how they're like secretly in a relationship with one another. And I think this creates a lot of the creates a lot of the comedy in the show. So I wanted to talk briefly about Howard and Bernadette's relationship. It's kind of the same as him and Penny's relationship, only like Bernadette's more like forgiving of like his bad jokes and stuff like that. And I think there's a bit of potential in the relationship, even though even though Bernadette still kind of thinks he's this creep. And I also wanted to talk briefly about Sheldon and Amy's relationship. So basically, Sheldon is like this guy who's not interested in a relationship with any girl, and Amy's like this girl who secretly has a crush on Sheldon, and she's like constantly making like these subtle moves on Sheldon. And so I think it's interesting to like add this female character who has a crush on this guy who doesn't want a relationship, and like I think it's interesting to like explore this dynamic they have, and like consider ways for Amy to win Sheldon's affection. And so in conclusion, I think that all these interesting and like I guess contrasting and conflicting relationships between these characters are the reason why The Big Bang Theory is like such a popular show, and why it's so successful, and it's also the reason why this is a really enjoyable show and a really funny show to watch.